Welcome to In This Season podcast, where we unpack the most empowering conversations, have exclusive and inspirational interviews, and host special events. Join Tammy, some call her Butterfly, and explore life's purpose by learning how to embrace each season of your life with confidence, strength, and purpose. Whether you're blooming in the spring, or shining in the summer, or embracing change in the fall, or gracefully hibernating in the winter, get ready to be inspired. Join us right here on this season of In This Season podcast with your host, The Butterfly. It's time, no matter what season it is.
Good morning, beautiful people. Come on in to the barbecue. Let's get this party started, right? Thank y'all for joining us. If you're out there, go ahead and say good morning. Happy Monday, as one of our regulars would say. Miss Brenda Davis, where are you? All right, you guys. If you're new, this is how we come in. You got to feed the ducks. Feed those ducks this morning. Get the weekend off of you and get ready for a beautiful, intentional week. One that you, right? Pimping wearing you or you wearing the pimping. We have not asked that question in a minute. Auntie Richetta says, good morning, Butterfly and nephew. Welcome. Hope everything is well with you and that you are having a great time. Good morning, Bone. How are you?
Good morning. Doing good. How
What's
are you?
going on with you? I'm good.
Just about to sip my coffee and enjoy my morning. A little sleepy this morning. I slept very hard last night.
Yeah.
But it was a good one. It was a deep one. I might have to revisit it later on, but not right now.
Whew. I know.
I'm
Yeah, me too. I pulled the late hour again last night, y'all. I did. I pulled it.
During the midnight
I was up
oil.
to like 2:00. But doing some things, burning it. So burning it. Oh, I like your cup.
Oh, thank you.
Let me see that again.
Oh, you can see that.
Oh,
It's going in and
like
out. Thank you.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's get going here.
Sounds good. Welcome,
if
everybody.
we may.
Yeah, to the In This Season podcast. What'd you say, Mom? You go ahead, sweetie.
No, I said in this season we're drinking coffee.
Well, yes, we are. Well, thank y'all so much for joining us and letting us be a part of your morning. Welcome to the In This Season podcast with your host, Tammy the Butterfly, and me, the co-host, her son, Brandon. For the last 300 and some odd days, we've been going through the book, Daily Motivations for African American Success. Many of you are familiar with this book and have been gaining from this book and growing from this book just as much as we have. But thank you guys for the dedication, for showing up here every single day at 7 a.m. and taking on this with us. So a little bit more about this book. Daily Motivations for African American Success will help you focus on the thoughts, attitudes, and deeds that will lead to the achievement of your true goals. In 365 short but powerful motivations, one for each day of the year, Dennis Kimbro, author of the popular Think and Grow Rich, A Black Choice, leads us to discover how to use the present moment and our own gifts to transcend labels, cultivate a positive attitude, become wise enough to know when to say yes and when to say no, and how to look inward for answers to life's challenges. Now, each motivation begins with words of wisdom from such distinguished and celebrated African Americans as Malcolm X, Marion Wright Edelman, Whoopi Goldberg, Charlene Hunter Galt, Bill Cosby, Carl Rowan, Mother Hale, Reverend Leon Sullivan, and hundreds of others. This treasure trove of practical inspiration will give you fresh encouragement every day of the year. What it teaches you will last you a lifetime. So thank y'all again for joining us, and let's move on in the show. Mom, what you got going on over there? You need to handle anything before we jump into it?
No, I'm good. I'm actually gonna, while you're reading, I'm gonna jump out for just a minute and check some of these connections and make sure everything is still good for us. So you go ahead and read. I can hear you.
You can hear me? Sounds good. All right, guys. Well, today is Monday, December the 2nd. And on Mondays, I know you guys have a lot to do, so we try to keep these nice and short on Mondays. Sundays is usually our longer day, Sundays and Saturdays, but on Mondays we try to keep it a little more concise, just to make sure you guys get up about your way and still get this daily motivation for African American success. But December 2nd, our title is Have You Decided? Have you decided? And Martin Luther King Jr. has given us our quote of the day. He's a civil and human rights activist, as I'm sure everyone knows, one of the most famous men to have ever lived, in America at least. He said, if a man hasn't discovered something that he will die for, he isn't fit to live. If a man hasn't discovered something that he will die for, he isn't fit to live. Um, you know, very powerful words from a man, considering how his life came to an end and how he lived his life and how he did these things. So again, if a man hasn't discovered something that he'll die for, he isn't fit to live. A little boy was told by his doctor that he could save his sister's life by giving her blood. His sister was near death, a victim of a rare disease, from which the boy had made a miraculous recovery. Her only chance for survival was a blood transfusion from someone who had conquered the illness. After a series of tests, the boy was found to be the ideal donor. Johnny, would you like to share your blood with Mary? The doctor asked. The child hesitated, somewhat frightened. Then he smiled and said, Sure, Doc, I'll give my blood to my sister. The two children were wheeled into the operating room. Mary, pale and thin, Johnny, robust, and the picture of health. Neither spoke, but when their eyes met, Johnny grinned. As his blood siphoned into Mary's veins, new life seemed to come into her tired body. The ordeal was nearly over when John's brave little voice broke the silence. Say, Doc, when do I die? It was only then that the doctor realized what his moment of hesitation meant. Little Johnny actually thought that in giving blood to his sister, he was giving up his life. He had made his decision and he was willing to live by it. People may think decisions require complex thought. Actually, most decision making is simple. The choices we face are not what should I do next, but should I do this specific thing or not? Life is mostly a series of small decisions, each decision the natural consequence of earlier choices. For example, Alcoholics Anonymous doesn't counsel drinkers never to take another drink. That's a daunting step. Rather, it teaches members to make small adjustments that lead to significant lifestyle changes. Not to take a drink that day. It is often the small decisions that are the most important and lead to the biggest changes and breakthroughs in our life. Again, rather, it teaches Alcoholics Anonymous doesn't counsel drinkers never to take another drink. That's a daunting step. Rather, it teaches members to make small adjustments that lead to significant lifestyle changes, like not taking a drink that day. It is often the small decisions that are the most important and lead to the biggest changes and breakthroughs in our lives. And our affirmation for today is I will make strong decisions and stick with them. Again, I will make strong decisions and stick with them. Over to you, Mom. Have you decided?
So I have decided. Yes, I have. Thus the reason for staying up 2:00 last night. I'm gonna make it personal because we're gonna jump off today, because I see we're having that issue again today, seemingly, but um, but yes. So I want to go back to. Matter of fact, I was listening to a young lady talk about one of Dennis Kimbro's book, the Think and Grow Rich, a Black Choice. Not, I didn't send this one to you. I sent another one that I listened to, but on hers, she was actually talking about that very thing, that if we have not found something that we're really ready to die for, to go in for, like goals. She was talking about our goals and how we live our lives and things like that. Um, I get it. I get it. If a man hasn't discovered something that he will die for, he isn't fit to live. I would say perhaps not living, that they're not truly living, something that burns you. And I'm talking about here goals, right? Something in life that pushes you. Like I hear a lot of people, not many of them, but I hear like your Steve Harvey. I've heard some others say, I didn't have a plan B because I just was so sure that plan A was going to work. I was going to do the work to make it work. So that's my spiel. I'm going to be short, Brandon, because again, we sorry about that, but we seem to be having some things going on here. And the affirmation, I will make a strong decision and stick with them. Strong decisions and stick with them. Have you decided on the decisions? Have you made the decisions? And are you stuck in them? Because again, how you do anything is how you do everything. As I was going through some things yesterday all day, and I was telling Brandon that I felt like because I got frustrated. I was growing weary. I was like, oh my gosh. And I remembered one brick at a time is how you get the house. So one thing at a time, if I touch it, then I'm clearing. Because as I mentioned, I'm clearing my space. I'm not waiting to January 1st. I'm not waiting to December 31st. January 1st, I'm going to be on and popping. Not trying to pop. Not trying to turn myself on. I'm going to be ready. That's why I stayed up to 2:00. A little bit after. Because I'm going to get it in. I'm going to be prepared and ready. My space is going to be clear. My mind, I've decided. So there we are. Over to you, Brandon.
Thanks, Mom, for those insights. I don't have much as well, but I do want to speak in short about decisions. Specifically how we feel when we're making decisions, right? We should look forward to being decisive. And I'm gonna speak specifically to my brothers, and for sisters. Some of you can gain from this as well. But there's something called analysis paralysis, right? Analysis paralysis, and I've said this in short before on other occasions about this very same thing. Many times when we have that analysis paralysis, it's not that we don't know what decision that we want to make or that we should make or that we're going to make. It's just taking the next step to actually make that decision, right? There's a difference in deciding and then making that decision happen. Have you decided? Have you decided meaning, have you just consciously made a commitment to what you're going to do? And how much is your resolve in that decision, right? And if your resolve is weak, then that resolve will not manifest to an actionable step, right? If that resolve is strong, you will take the next step in order to get toward your goal. So when it asks, have you decided? I want to rephrase that and say, do you have resolve? Right? Because you can say, yes, I want to be this. Yes, I want to do that. I want to be a business owner. I want to go put in that job application, or I want to go, I want to study this particular field or apprentice under this particular type of expert. But until you actually reach out to that expert, until you actually go out and put that application in, until you wake up and put on your clothes and get ready for the day and dress, and conduct yourself as the CEO of a business, you will not have a functioning, thriving business. So we must first be the business. Like I remember hearing Jay-Z say, I'm not a businessman, I'm a business man, right? So handle your business, right? Handle your business. And that comes down to your intention and your resolve. And many times what stops us or impedes us from making that actionable step, showing the resolve that we have, and being a visual manifestation of the decisions that we made. What stops us a lot of times is the fear of failure, the fear of getting it wrong, the fear of rejection, the fear of not being accepted, the fear of us not reaping the returns that we expect, at least initially. And most people quit even when they start the first step. They don't give themselves enough time to build momentum. Right? When you come, I was talking, Mom, I was talking to you about this yesterday, specifically about some of the things that we're doing together. That when you start something new, when you come out of the you come out of the blocks, as the sprinters say, once that gun fires, and they say which means it's ready to go. It's a race, the race of life. You got to come out of the blocks as fast as you can. You got to come out of the blocks strong. You can't come out of the blocks lagging behind, allowing any and all competitions and things to get in your way or to get ahead of you. When you come out of those blocks, when you hear that sounding gun go off telling you to run, you got to come out of the blocks as fast as you can, right? And yeah, there's a methodology to it. Yeah, there's a technique to how you should place your hands, and there's a technique to how fast you should move your feet, or how much you should bring your knees to your chest, or how little time should be spent with your feet on the ground. I've heard that you should almost make the contact of your foot on the ground when you're running fast as quick and as powerful as possible. There's ways to do it, just like there's a way to make a business plan. There's a way to market your business. There's a way to invest. Or to learn how to invest, right? The fundamentals, or how to do technical analysis. There's different technical things, but what makes people successful as opposed to failure is mostly the people who start and never stop starting, right? Every day is a new day. Every day is a progression toward your purpose, or toward your goal, toward your objective, that's a little bit further than yesterday. And so if you can just be a little bit better today than you were yesterday, if you can knock one thing off of your list today, by the end of the year, you'll have 365 things that were knocked off of your list. And that's more than most people can say. All right. So it's not always, as my Uncle Mike tells me, I know you want to hear, it's not always the hare that wins the race, right? It's not always the hare that wins the race. Mike told me, we were talking a couple of days ago, or we were going back and forth, and he said, notice that the turtle is the only animal that has a house on its back, right? So no matter how fast he goes, it just matters that he goes. I kind of like it a little bit. I kind of am in between. I'm like, man, I want to be the turtle with, the hare with the turtle shell. I want to move fast, but I also want that house on my back. So to me, that's the foundation. That's the intention. That's the resilience and the resolve of your decision, so that when trouble does come your way, it's not that you stop your progress, but you might need to tuck your head in just a little bit. You might need to take a second and make sure that you're safe, or that you got all your ducks in a row. But that doesn't mean that you stop. And also, just because people don't see you quote unquote winning doesn't mean that you're not. What are you seeking? Are you seeking, is your resolve seeking the validation of other people, or is it seeking success? And sometimes success is silent, right? Sometimes success is silent. And what I've found personally is the more that I talk about it, right? Sometimes the less I do. Isn't that strange? Sometimes the more you talk about what you're gonna do, you get that feeling
Yeah.
of, man, I'm gonna do this and I'm gonna do that, and you get lost. And again, analysis paralysis. You're sitting there analyzing how you're gonna do it, why you're gonna do it, what's gonna happen when you do it, and that's great. That's great, but that's time for your visualization. Those are conversations that you should have inside the confines of your own mind, right? Right? Have those internal conversations and dialogue, and encourage yourself and motivate yourself. But as soon as it touches your tongue, know that you ain't the only one that heard that. You never know what could be listening to you that wants to thwart or get you thwart your goals or get you off track. Remember, there, and I'm gonna go to the spiritual for a little bit. There are things that can hear you and see you from a place that you cannot hear or see them, right? That want nothing more than for you to fail, than for you to have despair, than for you to be discouraged, than to you for you to have the spirit of um of ingratitude based on whatever it is, whether it's based on trauma or whether it's based on insecurity and low self-esteem. So by the time you verbalize it, you should already be moving. Just take that into consideration. Because when we say things, when we say, I'm gonna, it's like protests, for example. And I'm not saying protests are bad. Because I think, like Dr. King said, this is the voice of the voiceless that hasn't been heard. But even in protests, if there isn't policy, if there isn't institutions that are being built after the protest, then what use was it other than us expressing that, of our discontent, right? But if there's no following steps afterwards, after the big blow up, after the marches, do we have a civil rights act? Do we have, what's the follow up? What's the business of our emotion? But when we say it, when we speak about it, we get into a habit of speaking about it. And I can't tell you how many times I've spent, you know, hours on the phone talking to someone and they're talking about the same thing about what they're gonna do. And if somebody's telling you about what they're gonna do, and then a few months later they're still talking about what they're gonna do, chances are they're not just wasting their time, they're wasting yours. Right? So we have to make those decisions. Hey, excuse me, I got resolve. I have made up my mind that today is going to be successful. And I just don't have time. I just don't have time to waste, right? For us to talk about what you're gonna do, right? But when you've done it, I'll see it. I'll notice it. And the people that are supposed to be there with you, they will support you, right? But the conversation and the dialogue should happen within yourself internally or with a very small group of people, right? Because in doing this, you create the almost like an unrequited love, right? You create the tension that pushes you, the fuel that pushes you, because it feels like something you haven't gotten out. Once you say it and speak it and people give you the positive affirmations and reinforcement and encouragement, you get this release of dopamine and oxytocin, like, yeah, you almost feel like you did it. Yeah, I went to the protests, but you didn't change anything. Nothing really has changed as of yet. Nothing. What's the follow through on this, right? And I think for Black people in particular, this is the next step for us. you know um we have a history, right, of that change, but somewhere after Jim Crow, somewhere after integration, somewhere between Jim Crow and currently, we have the crack epidemic, we have the war on drugs, the war on crime, all these different things that have happened. We've had redlining in our communities where they put highways in between us. I'm not saying all of those reasons are excuses, because we cannot, and even if they are, it would not help us at this point, right? But what we can do is strengthen up our own resolve and start building the institutions, start building the businesses, start building the stores, start building the community that we want to see. We have to be the community that we want to see. And the only way that we start that is with resolve, with follow through, with dedication and commitment to specific goals. So the last couple of days we've been talking about planning, right? Planning annihilates that fear, right? It annihilates the fear, in my opinion, of failure. If you proper preparation prevents poor performance, and most people are afraid of poor performance, afraid of rejection, afraid of failure. But if you properly plan, if you spend that time and write down everything that you intend to do, that's again that dialogue with yourself. I'm not saying make a Facebook post about it, because now everybody else wants to tell you their opinions, and one way to kill a man's dream is to give him two, right? So that his hairs are split, his feet, left foot goes to the right, and his right foot goes to the left, not doing and fulfilling their purpose in their own spaces. So I'm not saying make this public, but write down for yourself, make your vision board, write in your journal, write in your planner, what can I do today or tomorrow that will progress me and get me one step closer to my goal, and focus on that one thing. That is the goal for today. And a bunch of little drops fill up the bucket. But if you try to get a whole gallon of water and put it in a whole, if you get a whole gallon of water and just try to dump all of it inside of a bucket, you'll surely lose half of that water. But one drop at a time, you can fill it all the way to the brim. Okay. So plan, decide, have resolve in your decisions, and keep them to yourself. Keep them to yourself to the point to where you have to make an action, right? You can't do anything. It's festered up inside of you. You've thought about it to the point, had that dialogue internally with yourself. To the next thing that you do is the actual action, and others will take notice. Okay, so that's all I got. Over to you, Mom.
Brandon, I'll add two things. Well, three. Build yourself, you guys. Be intentional about building yourself, because that's when you can build your goal, build a business, whatever it is that you're looking to do, whatever it is that you've decided on. Make sure that you've disconnected with the battle of self. And you mentioned about kill a man's dream. If you want to kill your dream, tell it to a non-dreamer. Tell it to someone who ain't doing nothing and don't want to see you do anything. That they're so caught up in doing the same thing every day. They think the same, they feel the same. They're in a routine, they're on cruise control, right? No goals, done with life in a degree, right? Do they want to see you have goals or hear about your goals to the point where they're going to encourage you? So be mindful and pay attention. I say, do what you got to do, and then tell people what you did, or just let them see. Because seeing is the best evidence, right? I did, right? If you're saying I'm going to or I'm doing, make sure you're telling that to someone who's going to say, well, man, hey, I got you. What can I do? You better go get at it, right? Because that's what they're doing. They're doing their thing. And then build, like I said to myself last night or yesterday, all through the night. Hey, keep going. Touch one thing and that's out of your way, right? I wanted to go up and go to bed, but I was like, you know what? I got another hour in me because I know what I got to do today. So I prepared. What are you going to make the strong decision about and stick to it? Like Brandon said, write it down, write the vision down, make it plain, revisit it every day, make a decision on your goals, on what you want, where you're going. And that's it. Good morning, Miss Brenda, Big Mike, and Monique have all said good morning. Happy Monday to you guys. Thank you for joining us. And y'all, make the decision. Have you decided? And what is that decision? Don't wait till January 1st, y'all. Let's get this party started today, right now, yesterday. Let's get this party started. 2025. We should not be dying to live, right? 2025, let's come alive. Let's be a representation of God's power and love for us, right? In our lives, right? Knock and the door shall open, seek and you shall find. So, all right, Brandon, let's get out of here.
All right. Well, thank y'all so much for joining us today on the End the Season podcast. We don't have much left to give you. I think that is enough to send you on your way. That is enough fuel to get you through the following day. I hope you guys have some goals planned out. The last couple of days, again, we've been talking about strategic planning. We've been talking about execution. We've been talking about decision making. Don't forget these things. If you need to revisit them, feel free to go back and watch the previous videos. But also take this very seriously. I don't want us to become too routine in this, right? We're here every single morning. Let's take this very seriously, because if you use this time wisely, right, then you can leverage this time. You can leverage the information that's being read to you, the concepts um, that are being discussed here, and you can use those for further contemplation, or you can use those for action. And I say there's been enough contemplation. Just see how it applies to your life. See what the overlay looks like on your life, and then go out there and make a decision. Actually do it. Make a decision, not decide. This is to make a decision. You're making that decision happen. All right. What's the next actionable step to your goals? Think of that one thing that you need to do, that you've been wanting to do, right? Write down every step that it takes in order to get there. It might be 100 steps to take in order to achieve your goal. Have you listed them out? Have you looked at every single one of those steps, or at least written it down, or made it plain in your own mind? If you haven't, then start today. There's no time better than right now, right? So list those down and knock off one a day. You might even get to the opportunity where you might be able to take down 2 or 3 a day. And it could be something as small as cleaning up your office. It might be something as small as, going to get that part for your car that you need so that you can make it to work. Some people got tags that they got to get together, a license that they got to do. They're missing these critical steps, right? Don't allow these small things, these small things, stop you from your big dreams. Okay? Get over the hump. Decide today. And I guess we'll see you tomorrow.
Brandon, also look at how you waste time. Like, monitor your time today. Let's start with that. What do you do with the day? Something. If you look at that and then you compare what you could do, what you should do, and what you ought to do, man, I'm telling you. So, Brandon, you need to share that journal with us so that because I need to get mine ordered right away. You're going to share.
Yeah, sure. So there's different kinds of journals.
You can send it to me and I'll drop it in the link.
Okay, cool.
You can send it to me, or you tell me and I'll put it out here in the comments.
Yeah, there's one. It depends on what you're doing. So they have one that's more business oriented. The one that I like, it's called Productivity Store .co. I think they meant .com, but it might not be. It's called Productivity Store, and they have planners. Productivity Store, and there's also another one, just depending on what you need it for, but like for more emotional, mental health support, I would look at the Freedom Mastery Planner. They have some really, really good planners. But again, Freedom Mastery Planner, and then the Productivity Store, which is where I've gotten mine. And it's great. I used it yesterday. Everything that I need to do today is detailed down to the hour. Ask me what mood I'm in, what I'm most grateful for, what are my monthly goals for the month. It gives you inspirational quotes therein and throughout. It gives you space to just write, like blank space as well. It really helps you kind of dial in on what you need to accomplish for this day, this week, this month, and this year. So it gives you that ability to kind of put all of that into something that you can see, feel, touch, and carry with you when your mind might slip. And even if your mind doesn't slip, it saves it in a different part of your consciousness when you write it down. When you write it down, you read it and you speak it. Those 3 things, when you touched it 3 ways before it's even left, left you haven't even told anyone else, but before you shared it with anyone else, you've already shared it with yourself 3 times. That's how you save it into your consciousness, guys. So consider that and remember that as you go about your way, and we gonna get up out of here. All right. So again, Freedom Mastery Planner and Productivity Store. All right. Well, thank y'all again for coming this morning. We appreciate it. Go to our YouTube channel and like this video. Make sure you like this video, turn on those notifications, and subscribe. Send somebody else this podcast, and give them the opportunity to grow as well. We love you, and we'll see you tomorrow, same time, same place. Peace.
All right. Got me, B?
You
You got me?
I got you a little bit. It's a little drag today. But it's cool. It's cool.
All right. That's all right. Peace, y'all. See you tomorrow.
All right, y'all.
We'll
See
work
y'all
on this again.